Hi everyone, let me begin this video by introducing myself. I am Mushnat Kothari. I'm a qualified fellow actuary. I have been professionally teaching actuarial science for the past 8.5 years and have overall actuarial experience of 8.5 years as well, along different verticals in actuarial. So that was a brief introduction regarding me. Before we get started with the solution discussion video, I just wanted to let you all know that the new batches for IFoA April 2025 session is starting off 6th of October, even for ones who are not appearing from II in the November term and are planning to start with their exams from II May 2025 session. The batches are starting from 6th of October itself. Do note that at Finatics, we hold one single batch itself for the entire term, be it for IAI and IFOA. Obviously, we have kept in mind that IA exams will be getting over in November, so we would be, scheduling our classes accordingly so that once who join us later, who is giving their IA exams in November, they can also continue with our batch itself. Do keep in mind we have limited intakes for our live batches, so it's important that if you're looking forward to getting full services from us in terms of live classes, doubt clearing, ample time from the faculty, the earlier you join, the better. We would be holding classes in live offline format in Calcutta, live online classes, as well as pre-recorded lectures. So from wherever you might be, any state in India or outside India, it doesn't matter. You would be getting access to all the classes along with proper doubt clearing support right from day one itself. So it's not that you would be left to spend, clear your doubts yourself and you would have to post them in a particular forum where the faculty might or might not, answer it. All the doubts here at Fanatics is taken by me and my colleague Gunjan itself. So we both of us are qualified fellow actuaries, credentiated as well. That is, we are allowed to use FIA credentials from IFoA. So whatever doubts you have, these would be resolved by us, not by any other junior faculty. We believe that doubt clearing is one of the most important aspects of classes, and that is something which should be left for the experts itself and not to others who might be able to help maybe in certain basic doubts, but not for the more complicated ones. So that's something regarding our classes, and I firmly believe I even others around who are similar minded along with my colleague that it is very important for students to start with the preparation very early on, so that they have buffer time later on. In case of any externalities or anything negative or anything uncontrollable, there's a buffer time so that their preparation is not hampered. So to motivate or to incentivize our students to start preparing early, maybe take a couple of days or a week's break after examinations have got over in the September term, but don't delay it further. I mean, if you have signed up with actuarial science, exams are going to be a part of life. If you enjoy it, you should anyway get started with it very soon so that you can enjoy more. If you don't enjoy it, the sooner you can get something off which you don't enjoy is better. So in whichever way you bring it, I'll always have reasons, to incentivize you all to join early on, because that just makes logical sense to me and should be the case which I feel most should be following. So as part of that, we would be offering early bird offers for students who are enrolling between 15th to 30th September. These would be on a first come, first served basis only, since we have a single batch and a limited intake. So all these offers are till the time we have seats available for the live batches. Beyond that, I mean, one can any day enroll for the video batches at any point of the year. But beyond a particular capacity, we would be enrolling more students for a batch, to ensure that all our students get sufficient time from the main faculties itself. So we would be multiple offers in terms of maybe flat reduction in fees of certain papers, combo fees, so on. So for those details, you can drop us a WhatsApp message and further discussion regarding that can be made. So that's what all from my end. Hope the solution discussion video is helpful to you all. So first of all, my views on the CM1 A paper for IFoA September 2024 session. It looked like a pretty straightforward one. The quantum of questions from the first half of CM1, or let's say the CT1 topics, looked relatively high in this paper. A couple of scripts, which I've seen, the students were able to attempt almost the entire paper. The ones who had not practiced much, struggled with mathematical typing. Usually the ones who have not practiced well, they tend to struggle a lot. But apart from that, others, they had a pretty good paper. CM1 B also, what I've heard from several students so far is that the first 60 marks or so was relatively straightforward, and they did find the paper B as easy as well. So on that basis, I mean, estimate in terms of passing marks could be anywhere between, let's say, 54 to 58. Rather, I would actually say not that even low 54. Given how the paper was, at least in my understanding, I would say maybe more so between 56 to 60. But again, these are just mere speculation. What I think honestly doesn't matter. End of the day, once the results are out, in the first week of December, you would get to know what the cutoff has been. So let's quickly jump to the solution discussion. And also before that, for those who have sat for this paper in this term, the video is made keeping in mind you all itself so that you all can quickly refer through the solution, glance through it, and see how you all scored, so as to take a proper judgment of which subjects you need to prepare for the coming term. uh, but for ones who will be watching this video later on, I would strongly suggest just don't look at the question paper and jump to looking this video how the solutions have been done. You should always first try to solve the questions yourself. If you have a different approach, so be it. See if the final answer is matching or not. If it's matching, well and good. In most cases, that should be correct. If not, then try to figure out how they have gone about it, and then maybe come looking for this video towards the end. You should not be jumping to watch these solution discussion videos right at outset, because then you will not learn the ability to, solve things in yourself. You will always get ready-made solutions, which is maybe a little bit helpful in the short term, but in the long term, those are never, because you need to generate the ability to be able to solve problems, or understand yourself whatever you have learned so far, using that how to go about solving a particular question, which might be straightforward, might not be straightforward, so on. And for once, in case you do find any sort of calculation mistakes or anything else, please let us know through the comment section. We'll take a look into it, and in case we do find certain calculation errors, we would put in the rectifications of it as well in the comment section, and we'll be pinning that particular comment. So once you're watching this video, make sure you are watching the comment section as well, just to see whether there has been any rectifications put or not. And obviously, since there's a video out on YouTube, and even if I hate doing it, I still have to do it. If you find the video useful, definitely do like it, or do comment as well if anything you're liking, not liking, particular would want it, and share it with those as well, who are setting for the same subject paper, and this video might be of use to them as well. So, 9 questions were there in total. The last couple of questions were more in quantum in terms of marks. So, starting from the first question, this is the solution. 7.922%, 6.030%, 6.670%. Keep in mind, in the question it was mentioned to put our answer till 3 decimal places when being expressed as percentage. If someone is not doing so, my understanding is that some sort of marks would be deducted. At least if I would have been examiner, I would have definitely deducted some marks for it, because it is clearly mentioned in the question paper to do so. Next is question 2, where an investor buys 500 shares in company A. Now it's known that over here the last dividend of 1.1 was paid 6 months ago. Next dividend is going to be paid today only, because the dividends are paid every 6 months. But the shares have been bought ex dividend. So the dividend which is supposed to be received today, that particular investor will not be getting it. So 1.1 was the amount 6 months ago. This time, investor is not getting, but had he or she got, it would have been 1.1 into the inflation for 6 months, which would have been 1.055 to the power zero point 0.5. After 6 months, the dividend amount will be 1.1 into 1.055 to the power 1. This is what actually the investor who has just purchased the shares in company would be entitled to. So this is something to keep in mind, where a couple of students would have definitely made mistake. So first what I've done is calculated the per share price dividing the total amount by the number of shares held. It's coming out to be 27.772. And then I'm equating it. This is equal to this term plus this term and so on. It will be an infinite geometric progression. Taking out the common values, it's 1 plus 1.055 v by 1.035 to the power zero point 0.5, so on, which is nothing but in terms of r. Uh, and then over here, It's the solution. Now note that you do not have to use tables functionality of calculator or anything else. You can directly, solve this particular equation because you have v to the power zero point 0.5 on both the sides. So sometimes students get excited and tend to jump, let's use Google C for solver in Excel or tables functionality of calculator or trial and error. It is not needed in all the cases. So I was getting I as 10.3972%, which is nothing but the real rate. Next, question number three, I would say a relatively straightforward one, but students struggled for some reason in it, and they tend to skip this question. So these are the expressions. You can substitute b to the power ts e to the power minus 0.05t. Further, we can also express tp35 tt in terms of forces of transition itself. Now, if we are increasing what the question states to be sigma, so what is happening is the force of transition is increasing for a trainee to convert to a manager. And if this happens, what will happen is there will be an increased amount of one-off bonus. The EPV of same will increase, as well as because the manager is commanding a higher pay, therefore the EPV of the salary to the manager will also increase. So overall, the EPV will increase. EPV which a training gets will decrease because there will be a more faster transition or more, let's say, probable transition from a trainee to manager. But at the same time, once they are into the manager state, they are getting a one-time bonus, and apart from that, they are getting a higher per annum compensation as well. And if mu increases, that is nothing but the mortality rate, or let's say, not mortality here, it's leaving the service. So in that case, if mu is increasing, then the EPV of all these benefits would decrease itself, keeping all other factors constant. Next, we have question number four over here. If I quickly go through the solution, again, a straightforward one, I would say or you tend to jump directly to a very concise equation, which I would suggest is not the best way to try to make your life maybe too easy. I would go on to say that, but that's not the best way. Always try to start from first principle, unless you're absolutely very much sure that you get the equations right at the first go without drawing timelines. So fine, so you don't need to draw timelines obviously in your Word document, but in your rough sheet you can draw it and just see, where the cash flows are so that it helps you to get the right um, expressions itself. Because a couple of scripts which I was going through, all were doing, different things. In the later questions, we'll see, just trying to make their life easier by having a very short equation, but that was not the case. So over here, solving everything, I'm getting it to be something like 5.62466 million. I've not got a chance to cross-check a lot of the calculations so far because the scripts which I got from the students, before I had prepared the solution, most of them, the answers did not match for the earlier questions. For the later ones, at least it tied back, but for the earlier ones, it did not match. Some had left a question or, some had done some sort of say, mistakes. So it could be that there is some sort of calculation error even in these solutions. So as I mentioned, do let us know through comment section on same. Next is question number five, rather a very easy question, I would say, but a lot of students struggled over here, and it was disappointing at least to see some of my students. One script I saw actually, which had, I don't know, had done a very different thing, did not take probabilities, did something else. And especially for those who have studied CS1, this should not be difficult. It's a very straightforward thing. Once you're not done it, I can still give you some sort of benefit of doubt of struggling in this question. Again, it's something which is there as part of the syllabus. We've already done it. So it's disappointing, honestly, sometimes to see the script of students and eventually you realize, these students have not practiced that well, or, they tend to just do what they might have done in school, just take a note, take down notes, watch the videos, just look at the solutions. They have not solved the questions themselves, because if they do it, then only their concepts will be clearer. So I keep on saying, the papers might come, eventually become easier from IFoA II. Both are going on a rampage mode that they need to produce more actuaries, more so II. But other than that, and you might still clear the exam, but once you start working and if you want to have that sort of growth, which people have mentioned, what actuaries usually have had. So for that, it is more about your merit, your skill set, the concepts you have, your ability to, apply them in real life scenarios, not just the traditional tested scenarios, but something, new altogether scenarios as well. So in these cases, of course, principles should be extremely, extremely strong. And that will not come by just, going to the solution which has been provided. You need to start from the question, see what knowledge you have, and then try to get to the final answer. If you see the solution, you lose it. You might feel you have understood it, but that does not happen. If you cannot do it without referring to solution, something means you don't know the question well, or there is some sort of issues with your conceptual clarity. So over here, these are the values of T65, 0, 1, 2, greater than equal to 3. These are the values, present value over here, and these are the probabilities. So I used Excel for computation. I put in these values, the probabilities, and then you can find expectation x, x square, variance x, so on. Expectation x I was getting 796.25, variance x I was getting 4795.78 whole square. Now depending on what level of decimal places you're taking for probabilities or for x, you might get slightly different values. Since I used Excel, so it was using the exact value of x, and for probabilities I had taken till 5 decimal places only. But depending on whether you take a higher decimal place or lower decimal place, your final answer, especially the variance, could be different. It should be acceptable as long as you're not done too much of rounding. Next was question 6. This is also where I was disappointed to see a couple of scripts done weird things. So anyway, I mean, so we have been given the gross redemption yield is 4.5%. This comes out to be the equation, and the prices comes out to be 99.022. So now if I put it in terms of discrete rates, this is the first equation. Then I've also been given the par yield. And from there, I get the second equation over here. And this second equation can be arranged as in this form. So I have two equations. You can take 1 by 1 plus y1 as x, 1 by 1 plus y2 whole square as y. So there are two equations, find x and y, and eventually you'll get y1 and y2. So the values of y1 and y2 I'm getting in this form, and then we also have the 1 year forward discrete rate applicable from time 2 to 3. So using that, I get y3 as 4.848%. Next question number 7, loan schedule. A lot of skipped it again. The ones who have practiced from the resources we have shared, which includes let's say the material, past year questions from IFoA or II, certain additional assignment questions as well, which we have given for the earlier chapters. These questions have been there. It is disappointing for you all to not to see not you are not doing it correctly, especially some of you who I know have practiced a lot. You have been preparing for this paper maybe for 1 year or 8-10 months or so. So it was disappointing to see errors being made over here. So this is the equation now, because the question categorically stated using annuity factors, because some of you will try to be very smart, use Excel itself to get everything, which can be used to maybe cross-check your answer. I have also used Excel to calculate things, but again, I was not doing it in exam. In exam, this is how you are expected to present, maybe slightly in more detail or so, but it's clearly mentioned to use annuity factors, so you'll have to use it. If you try to be extra smart and just use Excel, you won't, in my understanding, get full marks for those questions. So initial quarterly amount, I was getting 9032.37. And for the other parts, these are the answers. Interest, capital paid. Third one was second last payment. The penultimate payment was asked. So you need to find the loan outstanding at time 29.75, just before the payment at, or the installment before, just before the installment, which is applicable at 29.75. So you can use the prospective method to calculate same. It's coming out to be 23,659.51. And the final part was the expression for total interest. And finally, it's calculation of same. So it's coming out to be 7,57,881.1. Next, moving forward to question 8. Again, these are very scoring questions, I would say, especially now, because you can use Excel for your calculations purpose. It becomes very easy. I myself find it so easy, to use Excel for calculation purpose, and especially if your first principles are right. In Excel, it's more about a first principle, how you can efficiently do and calculate this. So I find it sometimes a lot more easier to do things over Excel, especially those same calculations again and again. If I can observe the patterns well, it's very easy to create your own customized formulas in Excel and quickly calculate it instead of doing it manually. So first part was 1500. Second part, I mean, I've calculated PV dash. The assets and liabilities has been struck off because I had kind of switched them. Later I realized what I was treating as assets was in fact liabilities, and so on. So, and again over here, when you are testing the Reddington's condition, you might check for volatility, DMT also, convexity also. Again, I mean, I would say the easier thing is just look at PV, PV dash, PV double dash, unless the question specifically asks you to compute DMT, volatility, or convexity. And then I've calculated the second derivative as well, which for liability is coming out to be greater than that of assets. So therefore, all redundant conditions are not satisfied. Finally, the last question, question number 9. So over here, this is how I've gone about it, and this is what I suggest to all as well. Always write down all the values you're taking from actual tables. This takes a bit more time. If you get the answer correct, fine. But if you're not getting it correct, you will get full step marks for all these things. And even if you have copied something wrong from the tables, you know exactly which thing you have done incorrectly. If you do all these things in calculator, then you don't know. And if something goes wrong, you'll have to perform everything again, note down all the values from tables again. So I feel this is a more better way ensuring that basically minimize the chances of losing a lot of marks because of calculation errors, and it takes less time. Somebody who is very very proficient with calculations, have practiced a lot, you feel, or through the practice, not that you feel, but because of rigorous practice which you have done, and you have seen that you don't make much silly errors. In that case, it's okay. You do not have to show all these steps. You can write the equation, you can do certain calculations in your calculator, fine. But most of the students, I mean, these students I'm saying, these would be the one who would be scoring 80, 85, 90, 95 out of 100 in exams. But for most of them who don't, this is the ideal way to do it, so that you get step marks as well in case you do something, or you go wrong in your calculations. So premium is getting as 1185.79. Next part was using the recursive relation. So I'm getting this to be 29,651.52 over here. Third part, again, total profit, it's coming out to be 60,606. Now, fourth part was, what are the reasons? So the actual interest earned is higher than the expected interest. So that is leading to interest profit. Then expenses, if you will calculate, I mean, your actual expenses should have been, or the expected expenses should have been 5% of annual premium into 500, which I don't remember, but maybe was 37,000 orders, so if I correctly remember. But our actual expenses have turned out to be more. So expenses are contributing negatively, and mortality we have a profit because over here you will see that the expected deaths, we have more actual deaths, and even in fact surrenders compared to the expected deaths. Surrenders was not there in initial phase itself. So you will see that the reserve being maintained is far higher at 18 compared to the surrender benefit or the death benefit payment. So as such, it's profitable for the insurance company if the policyholders die or they surrender, instead of being alive. So therefore, we are seeing mortality profit as well, which is contributing. So I hope you all found this video helpful. Thanks everyone.